Hi guys, Lincoln here from Latrobe Youth Space Youth Governance Committee. Great to be here today for the second episode of Lead the Way. Today we're going to be talking a little bit more about leadership, of course, and some, my definition and my experience with leadership and a bit of my journey. So there are lots of definitions out there for leadership, like this one. I'm not a big fan of a lot of them. A lot of them are really sort of basic and traditional in their view. Leadership, someone who stands up in front of a group, public speaking. They talk about, leading a team, a group of people to achieve something, which is great. And yeah, it's very true as well. For me, though, leadership is a lot bigger and deeper concept, and there's so many ways to do it. The times I recall seeing true and raw leadership, it's not in the midst of speeches and amazing acts and things like that. It's in the moments when an individual, a person, shows their highest and most vulnerable self, when they really step up and do something that might be uncomfortable, but it benefits everyone. It's important, and you're courageous. And they take a step, and it can be really small, it can be really big. Yeah. And it can occur all the time. It can occur when no one's watching and you do something small that no one might see, but it has a big impact. Or especially when everyone's watching, when people are looking to you for help or guidance, or indeed when there's a group looking to someone else and you step up to help. Those times, that's when really great, awesome leadership is shown. When people take it upon themselves to act, with their highest and best character, and independence as well, that they have. So that's what I think leadership is. Especially it's, sometimes leadership can be about doing something different, as well. And that's really great, especially as young people, some really young, awesome, inspiring leaders out there, that I, look up to. It's when, there's a traditional way of doing things, there's a hierarchy and that sort of thing, but they say no, and they say, this is the way we're going to do it, this way I'm going to do it. And they go into sort of uncharted territory. It can be unplanned, and, that's really inspiring. That sort of trailblazing, life on the hard road, I like to call it. And I've written before about that, saying that you face a lot of opposition, and I've talked about, you're walking on a road and you will get lots of cuts and bruises and things like that, especially in that sort of trailblazing leadership that a lot of young people show, here in our community and across the globe as well. And it will demand that, you step up and go work harder than those before. So yeah, that's a little bit on, I guess my thoughts on leadership, and some of my definition, and things like that, especially related to, us young people. So in terms of, some my own leadership journey and where I've, learned a lot of these ideas and built these sort of views, I guess it all started, a few years ago now, in high school and those sorts of things with leadership positions and places like that. It was a great chance to develop, take on, a more traditional role as a leader, standing up in front of a group, and, leading a wider community, but also, running teams, projects and things like that. And it was a really great place for me because I found a lot of my passions, and I found what I was, what inspired me, what kept me going, and what made me want to do more. Especially around fundraising and things like that. And that connected me with causes that inspired me or made me go look for things. So that was, yeah, I think those early years for me were really great in building my character and my leadership style, as well. And that's something we'll touch on in the future. There's so many different styles of leadership out there, that people have written on, and some they haven't as well. So that's something we'll get to. But yeah, in terms of my style, that definitely came through a lot of those early years, in high school. And sport as well, and those sorts of things. Yeah, learn a lot about myself and other people. I guess so. Some of the other things, around that time and a bit after, and even now, the work with the YGC, Latrobe Youth Space, this amazing organisation. Can't believe how long it's been now. It's been a fantastic journey. And so the chance I was given, with the YGC, to engage with so many diverse people from our community in the valley, and learn from each other, connect, and have meetings, and really contribute to the organisation, and lead its strategic, direction, especially with programs and things like that. And that gave me sort of a next level understanding, I think, about, leadership, especially in the community, and how it's important to listen to everyone, especially when you live in such a great diverse community like ours. It'd be awesome at meetings, having hearing different voices and things like that. Hearing different people speak and share their ideas. And that's something that always inspired me when someone who maybe didn't speak all the time spoke up and said, "This is what I think," or "Here's an idea I have." And that was just awesome. And that's, speaking up is a big part of my view of leadership anyway. When someone takes it upon themselves to say, "Actually, this is what I think," or "Yeah, I do support that," or "No, I don't really believe in that. Here's, an idea I have." So that's something I definitely picked up, with the YGC. Also working with Latrobe City Youth Council, an awesome initiative as well that we have in our community for young people to learn leadership skills and a voice, and have a voice. Um, some other things, I guess, interwoven in those years, I was really blessed to be able to go overseas. To a few places, especially in the Pacific. I'm a big advocate about the Pacific and Australia's role in it. So I've been to Timor and Fiji, going over there as a volunteer, and those experiences are massive. They shaped me so much, especially in my view on leadership. I got to go over to Fiji with some amazing of my school peers, and teachers, and that really, I think, brought me out of my shell and really drove some of my advocacy passions, and as well as learning that it is really important to learn about people around us and different communities. Timor as well, I got to go with people from all over Australia, amazing young people, and leaders. And that really, awoken me to, advocate and really push for things that I was passionate about. And it just showed me some amazing acts of leadership by, friends over there. When someone was, we'd faced a lot of different things. And at times that would be confronting being in a different country. And for me, when, someone would put your arm around you, or vice versa, when someone would say it's okay, or, the first person to speak as well, every night we'd have a debrief. And I found it, it was so inspiring when the first person would speak. Today, this is how I felt. This is what I thought about this, and what we saw and how we engaged. And that would trigger the next person, the next person. It's a really common experience. And I think that's one of the greatest everyday acts of leadership any person can do. And that's being brave and speaking first if no one else is willing to go. And that was a big learning thing for me over there, along with a host of other learning opportunities. So, and on speaking up, when someone does speak, I think over the last few years I've learned to listen, and I think that's really important. I think to be a good person, but also to be a really effective leader in any role. Doesn't matter whether you're leading a team of 5 or whether you're leading a team of 50. It's really important to listen, and especially in small groups and bigger groups, when you're in teams, when we have our YGC meetings, it's really important that we listen to each other. And being a good listener is being a good leader, in my view. So that's something I've, over the past few years really tried to do. It's definitely something I recommend, hear what people have to say, especially if you disagree. That, I think, is one of the best times to listen to someone, because often they might have researched or learned something that you haven't, or they might just bring a whole nother life experience to the situation. So recognizing that and listening to that is super, super important. And I can't emphasize that enough. In terms of leadership, I guess in the last 12 months, it's been a really interesting year in terms of COVID and things like that. But I still think that, I've still seen plenty of leadership. I'm sure we can all think of, over the last few years, we've seen, state and federal leaders on the TV a lot. But also at the grassroots level in our community, the things organisations are doing to still connect with people, even at youth space, what we've done, shifting online and really still being able to connect. And I think that's a sign of, young leadership as well. We are really adaptable, and a lot of young leaders out there, young people, are super adaptable to different situations. And I think having some sort of adaptability is really important in leadership as well. Something, I always try to do. It's one part I do struggle with, though, and that's another thing. Learning to say I'm not too good at this is really important. That's just important as a human and as a person, but it can make you a really good leader, as well. Learning to say I'm not awesome at this, or I need to get better at this. and finding support. Because if you learn how to go and ask for help and ask for support, you can make it easier as well for other people to do it. And again, that's that trailblazing leadership I spoke of before. And some of those experience I've seen in terms of COVID related is at uni now. Most unis in Australia have student unions, and they're awesome bodies of young people and organisations. And particularly at my uni, the work that the union did to stand up for students and having more academic protections and things like that, I thought was a great way to show how young people again can trailblaze and say, hang on, I know this is your view as adults and as leaders, and that's great, but this is actually how it affects us. And they were able to get us heaps of academic protections and things throughout the semester and this year, and also for any international students as well. So that's just sort of, I guess, a little bit of a case study on how young advocacy can actually make policy changes. And it led to lots and lots of money being invested into looking after students over the last 12 months as well, which is, amazing. And again, that's to everyone watching. You can achieve so much. Speaking up, though, is the first step as well. A really important step. And I guess that, loops back to that case study. Today, and every time we do one of these videos, I'm going to try and recommend something to read. I love reading. I'm a big advocate of reading. Today, every time I'm going to try and recommend a book that I think really showcases leadership and a story. I'm really big on stories and real stories. Fiction's great. Fiction does teach you a lot of things, especially as a young person. But there's some amazing people out there in our world, especially in Australia and the Latrobe Valley. And I think learning from them is really important. So this week is a great book. It's about an Australian woman, a woman of independence, the book's called. So it's on, Kirsty Sword-Gusmao, and her involvement with the Timorese independence movement. And it's just a really powerful story to me. There's courage in here, bravery, facing really massive obstacles and, at times life-threatening. Like, it's a really powerful story, confronting at times too. But I think it shows, definitely the power of an individual and the power of individuals when they come together. Really awesome book. It has love in there as well. It's a great love story too. But based on, it's a real biography on real people, which is something I'm really passionate on. So this, you should be able to pick up, ebook or from a secondhand bookstore, something like that, or new as well. Definitely really recommend it. It's a great part on, Australia's history as well, and Australia's leadership in the Pacific, and Timor when they were going through, a time of need. So definitely that's this week's book recommendation. So if you want a good read, something on leadership, track that down. Couldn't recommend that enough. So I guess that sort of concludes today's episode on leadership. I hope you've enjoyed it. Sort of an overview of my understanding, some of my journey, and things recently and in the past that have really shaped me. Really excited over the next few weeks, getting some other people in here. I'm going to have a chat to them over Zoom and talk about some of their understandings of leadership, their experiences, and have fun, have a laugh, and of course there'll be more recommendations of books as well. Might throw some movies in there as well that you might like to check out. Sometimes it's great to read. It's also great to watch some awesome film every once in a while too. So thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed it. And we look forward to having you again in a couple of weeks. Thanks, guys. Take care.